From the studios, it is Election Yard, March 10th, 2026. More special elections. Most of them are not going to be resolved tonight. Most of the elections we're going to touch on tonight are going to go to a runoff, but one of them is not. And it so turns out that that was the third Democratic state legislative flip of the year. We just had one last week. That was the second. And now we have the third. That was in the great state of New Hampshire. But what we're going to do first, we're going to take you through the Georgia results because we actually do have a congressional special election to talk about. That too is going to a runoff. So let's first show you the 14th congressional district of Georgia. This district is in the northwest corner of Georgia. It snakes down into Cobb County. This district, of course, was represented by the very well-known Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has left. And the race to replace her is very interesting now because you've got a Democrat that's going to be in the runoff here by the name of Sean Harris. He ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene in the past. He actually came in first here. Now, please keep in mind that there were a number of Republican candidates splitting the vote in this race, but Sean Harris gets 37% of the vote to finish in first. The combined Democratic vote, I want to say it was maybe 39 or 40%, which actually for this district is pretty good. Clayton Fuller is the Republican that will be in the runoff, and he will almost certainly win that runoff when it happens in April. Now, Colton Moore, former state senator, I should say, he came in a distant third at just 11.6%. Nobody else came close. So it'll be Harris and Fuller in the runoff. So we mentioned that the total Democratic vote was at about 39 or 40% in this election here. Well, in the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump got about 68%. The Democrats got about 31% of the vote in this district. So we can't put it on the screen yet as an overperformance because we only do that when we've got a final election result. Somebody actually gets elected. But this would have been an overperformance if we had done so, because the combined Democratic vote here is clearly higher than what Kamala Harris got here in 2024. And we're just going to continue to sweep through these Georgia elections. So Georgia State Senate District 53. So Colton Moore, who lost that election in the 14th district, this was his Senate seat, but Georgia has what's called a resign to run law. If you're running for an office in which the term that you are seeking overlaps the term that you are currently serving, you are required to resign. So he had to resign his seat, but this one too is going to a runoff. So Lanny Thomas, the Republican, got 38.7%. The Democrat, John Ziblack, got 27%. Denise Burns is a Republican. She got about 21%. So a Republican and a Democrat going to a runoff here. So in the presidential election in 2024, this was a 78, almost 79% Republican district. The Democrats got under 21% of the vote. That was Kamala Harris. So this would have also been an overperformance for Democrats, but we'll see how it goes in the runoff. Moving on now to Georgia State House District 94. This is a narrow district. It ends up near Stone Mountain and takes in parts of DeKalb in Gwinnett County in the greater Atlanta area. And we know the Democrats are going to win this seat because the three main candidates were all Democrats here. Vanola Mason and Kelly Kotz, two Democrats, are going to advance to an April runoff. So we know the Democrats are going to win this seat. We just don't know which one yet. And it would be impossible for us to calculate overperformance or underperformance because it's just all Democrats here. Although I will point out that this was a Kamala Harris 75% district in 2024, so there really was no danger of the Democrats losing this seat anyway, even if there were a Republican that were in the running. And finally, the last race that we want to talk about here in Georgia is State House District 130. So the main population center in this district is Augusta, and apropos of nothing, the Masters are coming up in a couple of weeks, a tradition unlike any other. So someone will win the green jacket and someone will also win this special election. However, it's definitely going to go to a runoff. We just don't know who is going to be in the runoff. So Sheila Nelson, the Democrat, has about 33.5%. She is going to the runoff. But you've got a Republican and a Democrat that are neck and neck for that last spot. Thomas McAdams, the Republican, is 7 votes ahead of Karen Gordon, another Democrat. So this seat, the 130th, this was a Kamala Harris 67.7% district back in 2024. So I'm sure the Democrats will hold it one way or another. Just a matter of whether or not Karen Gordon can close a 7-vote gap, but it looks like almost all the votes are in. But that's not the one you want to talk about. You want to talk about New Hampshire House District Carroll 7. Now, New Hampshire's House of Representatives, for such a small state, is quite large and unruly. There are 400 seats. Almost as many as in the U.S. House of Representatives. So this is actually a fairly large district considering that this state on your screen is chopped up into 400 pieces. And it was previously held by a Republican. Not anymore. Bobby Boudman has won the seat for the Democrats, beating Republican Dale Fincher by a margin of about 52 to 48. So this district is in a pretty Republican area. This was a seat that was won by Donald Trump back in 2024. He won the seat by about 9 points. There were only 3 towns in this district. So you've got Ossipee, Tuftonboro, and Wolfboro. So this is kind of like on the northeast shore of Lake Winnipesaukee, kind of towards the middle of the state. This is not a particularly favorable area to Democrats, though Wolfboro is more or less a Democratic town. Ossipee and Tuftonboro are not. Donald Trump won them both. Donald Trump actually won Ossipee by quite a bit, but Dale Fincher did not win Ossipee by nearly as much as Donald Trump did. And that's a big part of the reason why he lost this election tonight. So this is a Democratic gain. This is the 3rd Democratic gain in a state legislative election this year. And for this one, we actually can calculate overperformance or underperformance. And it's pretty clear that this is a Democratic overperformance. So the swing to the Democrats was about 8.75%. And then you see the margins in the presidential race last time. The Republicans, Donald Trump, won it by 9. They won it by about 4 this time. So that gives you a 13-point Democratic overperformance. And now we will take a look at the new House of Representatives in New Hampshire. The Republicans still sitting at 214. Democrats now up to 178. There is an independent, and there are, I believe, 7 seats that are still vacant in this chamber. So the Republicans still have a working majority, and they've been in the majority for about the last 6 years or so now in New Hampshire, but it's been a relatively narrow majority each year, and the Democrats have narrowed it a little further. Although in New Hampshire, winning an election like this, it definitely helps the morale, but you got 400 seats. It's not really going to change the bottom line too much, although I'm sure Democrats are hoping that they can finally get back into the majority this year. So, as we've said, most of these special elections are going to runoff, so TBD on all the Georgia races, but New Hampshire we can put on the board, and as you can see, we are now at 24 Democratic seats won, 8 Republican seats won, but the most important number to pay attention to here is that it's now plus 3 Democrats. So it was 21 to 11 before. Most of the seats we've seen special elections in so far had been held by Democrats, but now the Democrats have won 3/4 of these seats plus 3. So they had a gain last week and they've followed it up again this week with another gain. And in terms of over performances, we can see that the Democrats are still doing quite well. The gap is growing. The trend is continuing. Democrats have overperformed in 23 special elections that we've been able to measure. The Republicans have only overperformed their 2024 numbers in just 3 of them. 6 of them we weren't able to make a determination. But look, these numbers pretty much speak for themselves. The gap has been slowly growing over the course of the last couple of months. There will be many more special elections in the months to come, so we will see where these numbers sit in April, May, June. And then as we start heading towards the home stretch of the midterm election campaign. So we're starting to build up a sample size here, and this is yet again another Democratic overperformance. And really, if you look down the list, in the races in Georgia, had those been decisive races, some of them, we would have been able to say that they were Democratic overperformances, including in Marjorie Taylor Greene's former district. So still some optimistic signs for Democrats here. Still a long way to go until the midterm elections, but a good night for Democrats again tonight. And we'll just see what happens next week. There are actually going to be special elections on Saturday. Those will be in Louisiana because Louisiana loves their Saturday elections for some reason. But we'll see what happens in those, and you can find out at Election Yard. Like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We'll see you soon.